going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Leo's Nerd Talk, and today we're going to be going over the original Superman movie from 1978. So let's get into that. Hi, my name is Leo, and if you guys like time with movie, TV shows, video game related, or just anything nerdy, you have come to the right place. And like I said, today we are talking about Superman. So without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, with James Gunn's new DC universe kicking off here pretty soon in the next month or so, next month and a half, I should say, I wanted to go back and rewatch all the Supermans. Excuse me, not rewatch, watch all of them for the first time because I've never actually seen any of these Superman movies besides Man of Steel. Now, I will admit, for the longest time, I have been kind of a Superman hater. I've always enjoyed DC more than Marvel my entire life. But for some reason, Superman was never a character that I actually really enjoyed. I always felt like he was just too powerful, that his character didn't really, for at least me as a kid, didn't really have like a purpose. Like he has too much strengths. There's really barely any weaknesses to the character, and it just felt like he was not not relatable enough. Personally, when I was a kid, it just didn't feel right. But over time, I've definitely enjoyed the Superman character a lot more. I've learned to actually see, his more human side to him. And seeing this movie for sure definitely helped expand like my enjoyment for the character of Superman and my love for the character and everything like that. So this was definitely a very, very enjoyable watch for me. And we'll get a little bit more into why once we get into the pros. But this is definitely one of those movies that make me a Superman fan for sure. I'll start off with the pros. I will say first and foremost, Christopher Reeves absolutely does such an amazing job within this movie where you have his character who is, as Clark Kent, very clumsy, very nerdy, um, not confident at all, doesn't know what he's doing. And you have this very, very nice switch up when he becomes Superman, where he has very great charismatic characteristics. He's very confident. He stands a little bit taller. He knows just what he wants out of himself. And I really, really enjoy that from his character. And I love that switch up that he's able to do for himself, where he could become that very nerdy person and become that super confident person. And, people have over the years always made fun of the whole thing where just because he puts on glasses and has a different hairstyle, that no one recognizes him. But I think it's more to that. This movie for sure has shown me that it's definitely more than just a different hairstyle and sunglasses or glasses, reading glasses for the case maybe. Because the way he just uses his body language, where he like slouches over, he kind of like hides his face and like he's always looking down. He's very clumsy, and that clumsiness makes other people kind of not really pay attention to him. His nerdiness makes people not really pay attention to him. And I think that's kind of the magic of it and the genius of the difference of why people can't recognize, excuse me, who he is when he's in his Clark Kent form. Because when he is Superman, you see him stand tall, you see him become confident, outspoken, the way he speaks, his mannerisms, he even changes his voice a little bit. And I think that's so genius. Like, even in that moment in the movie where you have just right after you have the Lois Lane and Superman interview, and he leaves and he comes back almost instantly as Clark Kent, and he kind of has a moment where he wants to tell her that he's Superman. He takes off his glasses, you see him stand tall, and you see him change his voice, and it gets a little bit deeper. And right there you can see the difference why some people might not recognize him when he is in his Clark Kent form. And I think, again, that's just a very genius way to express it and to show it without seeming ridiculous. I feel like over the years, everyone made it seem so ridiculous that some glasses and a different hairstyle can make people not recognize who he is. But I get it. I can see it. I can see why it might be difficult for some people, like in the universe, to realize that he is Superman, right? And beyond that, I think the story is very done very well. I found myself in many moments in awe, or smiling, or kind of getting goosebumps in certain areas. And it's something that I didn't expect coming into this movie, because we've had these big spectacle, Marvel movies with thousands upon characters and CGI and explosions and all this different crazy lore. But this movie's so simple. It paved the way for superhero movies. And it just does it so well. It doesn't need crazy explosions and giant fights with aliens and universe collidings together. It doesn't need all that. It needs a compelling character within Christopher Reeves as Superman, a compelling villain as Lex Luthor, which we'll get a little more into a little bit later. But I do enjoy Lex Luthor for the most part, and it just becomes so cohesive. It becomes so genuine and emotional and fun and comic booky, and again, that's something that's very beautiful about this movie is that it did pave the way for a lot of modern superhero movies. You have someone like Kevin Feige who has said multiple times that every time he starts a new project on a comic book movie, he watches this Superman movie to re-inspire himself and re-show himself what comic book movies are about. And this again has become a movie that has put a lot of love for me into the Superman character, and I'm very excited to watch the rest of them. I'm not sure how great the rest of them are received within this the Christopher Reeves like trilogy. I think there's, but at the end of the day, I enjoy the character now. I see the appeal of the Superman character. It has a lot of heart to it, and I like the way Christopher Reeves portrays that. He does such an amazing job with this character, and you again you see so many inspirations from modern movies coming from this. It does such a great job, and there's a lot to say about this movie, but I can go on and on probably. But I was very genuinely surprised. I mean, that's what I really took out of this is how surprised this movie did so well. There's again great character work, great set designs. I mean, when we're in the beginning and we're on Krypton, it looks pretty good for the most part. Or when we first see like the Fortress of Solitude, it looks very good. There's certain things like his costume design or different like other things that we'll get into that I don't think are the best. But overall, I think for being a fairly older movie, most of the things that we see here in terms of like effects and practical effects and set designs and costumes and all this different stuff, I think it does very very well on that side as well in terms of the effect, in terms of the direction. I think the pacing overall about the movie is good. It's not great, it's good, and I never end up feeling myself being bored. It was genuinely a great film. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into my cons, and I don't have many here. One, I want to talk about, I mentioned a little bit, I enjoy him for the most part, the Lex Luthor character. He's not necessarily the greatest in my opinion. I think in this movie where you do feel like this film is very comic booky and very like colorful, I do wish the Lex Luthor character felt a little bit more menacing. His big evil plan idea is pretty menacing and daunting, but just the character himself felt very, I don't know, kind of jokey. And I wish he was a little bit more menacing, felt a little more evil, throughout the entire film. So that's only one slight con that doesn't bug me too much. And the other one, again, very, very small, is while you have a lot of great effects in this movie, a lot of great practical effects, you have a bunch of miniature design set pieces and stuff that they filmed through them to make it look as real as possible. The one thing that kept bugging me for a little bit is the way he looks like when he's flying. Let's see how Superman looks like when he's flying. I get it, it's a very old movie, but it kind of takes you out of it a little bit sometimes where it comes off kind of funny and cheesy. It doesn't seem cool that he's flying around. It just looks a little odd. And I mean, that's no fault to the movie. I mean, they did the best they could with the technology that they had at the time. But that is something, for someone who's more used to modern movies where for the most part everything looks pretty good. It for sure was like a standout when it comes to the flying sequences. It just felt really off and kind of and looked funny at times, and I found myself chuckling at certain moments when he flies off because it just looked kind of silly. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. I am very, very excited for James Gunn's Superman. I'm very excited to go through this Superman catalog and see how much more I enjoy into the character, how much more I fall in love with the lore of the character and everything like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you guys think about this movie. If you guys ever seen it before, if you haven't, it's 100% for sure a must watch in my opinion. But this has been Leo's Nerd Talk. If you guys like talking about the movie, TV shows, or video game related, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you.